Good day, everyone. This is Superintendent Megno Brown with a BPS community update as we return from the holiday break. We certainly hope that our families had a wonderful holiday season. As we return from the break, we are certainly in a surge with COVID, both at the county, town, and in district levels. You can see here on this graph that this represents the number of positive cases among students and staff for Barnesville Public Schools. The graph tells the story of this very sharp incline. Our case count has risen dramatically as we are returning from the holiday break. So the purpose of our message today is to seek your assistance and help in implementing some practices that will allow us to continue to keep our schools open and have our schools as healthy as possible. You'll see here on the table that it is organized by the number of positive tests since we've opened school, the number of student cases, and the parentheses indicate the number of breakthrough cases, and the number of staff cases, again, with breakthrough cases noted in parentheses. As we look down the table to this week, you'll see when we returned from school, we had 295 positive cases. Many of those cases represent the cases that were reported to us while we were on break. Some of those cases are occurring now that we're in school. But by and large, what that number is telling us is that there is a lot of positivity of COVID cases for sure across our BPS population out of school. So again, we want to be sure that we're keeping our schools as healthy as possible. And in order to do that, we're implementing some of the practices here that you'll see on this slide, which we've been implementing, but are going to get a little bit more restrictive and prescriptive around those practices. All classrooms are implementing a minimum of 3 feet of physical distancing. While that has been the case, we've previously allowed for some small groups or some partner work among students. We are eliminating that possibility in our classrooms right now. Students are not to do this sort of close partner work or collaborative work together. Students need to stay a minimum of 3 feet apart from one another. That will reduce the number of close contacts that we're seeing. The number of close contacts and the contact tracing that our nursing department has to do currently is really quite overwhelming. The maintenance of the 3 feet of physical distancing will reduce the number of close contacts in our classroom. So we're getting a bit more restrictive around that 3 feet of physical distancing. Importantly, our nursing staff needs to know as soon as possible when a student has tested positive for COVID. Particularly at the upper grade level, some of our students are sharing that information with teachers. It's taking a bit to get to our nursing staff. So we'd like our families to please notify directly the school nurse or the principal, or in the case of the high school, the hub office, that your child has been tested positive. Once we know that, our school nurses can go into action, do the contact tracing, communicate with the family. It just makes for a more efficient process. So please notify our nursing department if your child tests positive. Rapid testing in our school health offices is limited to test and stay. So as a general rule, if there are symptomatic students at school, they will not be offered testing and will be dismissed if deemed appropriate by the nurses. Masks need to continue to be worn at all times at school and on the bus. We are still under a mask mandate by the state. So unless there is a mask exemption or students are on a mask break, we need everyone to be wearing their masks. Certainly, if you could just remind your children of that expectation, as well as that masks need to be over their noses. In terms of visitors and volunteers, we're pausing all visitors and volunteers for grade levels preschool through 5th grade. This does not apply to student teachers, nor does it apply to high school students who are volunteering in some of our other schools, or parents and guardians that need to attend school meetings such as an IEP. Visitors and volunteers may continue under our current protocol for both the intermediate school as well as the high school. We may be looking at some possible school closures as while we're in the surge. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education has indicated that remote instruction is not an option at all this year. So given the fact that we're not able to flip to sort of remote instruction, we may find ourselves in a situation where we might need to close school, either due to a staffing shortage due to their illness. Again, this is really why we want to emphasize the measures that we're putting into place so that we can keep schools open and then so they can stay as healthy as possible. But we might need to close due to a staffing shortage, due to our staff's own illness, or we're seeing wide in-school spread that would result in us needing to either close a single school or the entire district. If we need to close a school or the district as a result of COVID, we've been asked by the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to first use our inclement weather days. And then if we exceed the number of those weather days and any remaining days in June, then we'll work with DESE on a waiver of the 180-day school requirement in the state. So again, if closure is necessary, I'm going to make every attempt to notify families the evening prior to that school day. But sometimes our staff is not able to let us know until the morning of that they've become symptomatic overnight and therefore won't be coming into school. But again, we'll do our best to notify families the evening before, but we may find ourselves in a situation where I can't send out that notification until early morning of the particular school day. So if we can follow the strategies that we have in place around staying home when children are symptomatic and staff is symptomatic, consistently wearing masks, maintaining the physical distancing, we should be able to keep our schools open. But again, I just want to sort of put the notice out there amongst our families that possible school closures during this surge may be something that we need to take a look at. As always, we want to thank our families for your partnership in helping us navigate, particularly while we're in the surge. And we need your partnership in order, again, our goal is to keep our schools open. And we look forward to doing that, as well as working in conjunction with you to make sure that that remains our goal. If you have any questions specifically about what's going on in your child's school building, please feel free to contact the principal. And again, feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions, concerns, or feedback you might have. And thank you very much.